The most in-depth coverage of the Silver and Black as they set their sights on Las Vegas for 2020. Live from the CBS Sports Radio 1140 studios, it's Silver and Black Today. Join the conversation by calling 702-889-5978. Now, here's Scott Gulbransen and Matt Gutierrez.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back on this NFL Sunday, a Raider Nation Sunday in Las Vegas. We are Las Vegas's only Raiders talk show. We're back here in the Dollar Loan Center, don'tbebroke.com studios for another week of the Silver and Black Today. Hi, I am Scott Gulbransen, joined as always by the man to my right, my co-host Matt Gutierrez. Matt, how you doing, Mark?
We got steel beams up, man.
We got steel beams. It's going vertical.
Steel beams are going up.
It's going vertical. Yes, the stadium in Las Vegas takes shape. We also have our correspondent, David Stepanian. David?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, there we go. Sonia will put up.
Yeah, thanks.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Thanks. I'm glad to be back on. It's been a few weeks.
It's been a few weeks, and we still don't know where you are. We have the FBI looking into you.
I'm right here.
The president has ordered an investigation of you as well.
Oh, man.
As a Supreme Court nominee. So we'll figure that out. Also, Sonia Schlobaum is our engineer today. Sonia, thanks for joining us, as always. And we're, of course, not only live here, but we are live also on the radio.com app. So if you're inside Las Vegas, but you rather listen on your phone, you're about to go work out, I won't tell you to listen to us in church, but if you want to, you could do it through earphones, and you could do it that way. Also, we are live right now thanks to our video director, Tony Cardasco, who is making sure that you see us on YouTube, on Facebook, and those are both under the Silver and Black Today channels, and then also on the Twitter handle for this station, and that's CBS Sports Radio 1140 or Sports Radio 1140 on Twitter. Each week we're here to talk Raiders football, but we want you to be the third host. Sound off, Las Vegas and Raider Nation. Call now at 702-889-5978. Again, that's 702-889-5978. Reminder as well that you can interact with us on Twitter, Silver Black, the number 2 day, Silver Black Today on Twitter, and we'll take your questions there and more if that's how you want to interact with us. We are your official Raiders pregame show. We get your morning started right. And guys, this is just a jam-packed show today with a lot of guests, and we're going to talk to them. Vinny Bonsignore, our My Cousin Vinny segment. Vinny will join us. He's with the Athletic LA, as he does every week. He's going to talk Derek Carr a little bit. Also, are the Raiders going to play in San Diego in 2019? He'll tell us the latest and what his sources are telling him. We'll also talk about the Raiders pass rush, and is there anybody out there that he's hearing the Raiders are interested in and maybe signing? Then, at the bottom of the hour, Daryl Ruiter from The Fan in Cleveland will be with us, and Daryl covers the Browns, and he's going to give us a little bit of a insight into the Browns and their start this year and the excitement in Cleveland after such a long downtime. And then our sponsor, Michael Troiano, who is also our legal expert, will be in to talk about a situation we're seeing in the NFL with a player that is very, very interesting, Everson Griffin of the Minnesota Vikings and what happened there, and he's going to talk to us and tell us about the legal thing. Michael, of course, is a criminal defense attorney, and he'll do that. The second hour, we open up with my favorite stat guy in the entire world, Austin Gayle from Pro Football Focus. We'll talk Raiders pass rush. Just how bad is it, Matt? The numbers...
Not good enough.
No, and the numbers say it's pretty bad, so we're going to talk to him about that. Then at the quarter hour, 9:15, former Los Angeles Raiders quarterback Jay Schroeder.
Raiders. Remember that?
That's right. I remember that. He will be here, of course. Jay Schroeder owns a Super Bowl ring from his time with the Washington Redskins. And then we will have Matt's Audible, of course, which we love. In the final segment, we'll review the Raiders-Browns, and also we'll hear from Chris Reed for a few minutes, as he just published today on silverandblacktoday.com one of his popular breakdown articles on Baker Mayfield. So we'll talk a little bit of Baker Mayfield. And that's the show, folks. I mean, we got so much going on and happening today that it's going to be fast and furious, and we want you to buckle up and get ready for that. So it was another interesting week, Matt. I think people are, there's a lot of Raider fans out there who are waiting for the other shoe to drop, and that other shoe to drop is, of course, losing to the Browns if the Raiders were to do it.
Man, what I tell you about playing in Miami, I don't know what it is about this team.
You called that one, yeah.
I don't get this team right now. I don't understand where the problem lies because, we've talked about stats and how deceiving those can be. They're moving up and down the field. Carr is 6th in the league in yards. They're having no problem moving the ball. They can't score. Carr has 5 interceptions. He's got 5 interceptions already. We're only 3 weeks in. 5 interceptions to 2 touchdowns. 2 of those interceptions he's thrown in the end zone.
Yeah.
I mean, they're shooting themselves in the foot all over the place. I hate the play calling.
Well,
I can't stand the play calling right now. And I talked about it yesterday on Adrenaline. These 4th down situations they've had 2 of them, one in Denver, one in Miami, and the ball goes to Keith Smith both times. Why? You brought him in.
I agree with that.
You brought him in specifically for these situations, not to give him the ball, to let him bull rush up through the middle, clear a path for your boy Marshawn Lynch to come in behind him. And instead you're giving this guy the ball.
Well,
why?
And we talked about that last week, too, which was the number of carries for Marshawn Lynch, too, should be higher, and we'll see if that happens. That was a little better last week, not as good as it needs to be. Just give that guy the ball, and again, until his legs fall off.
Look, I was just worried. There was a legitimate possibility 10 days ago the Raiders would be the first win for Cleveland
now it might be the
in
second.
2 years. Now it might be the second. Yeah, now there's
and you know what? That aesthetically, the Browns getting their second win in the last 2 seasons looks a lot better than the first win.
Oh.
I was the biggest Browns fan against the Jets because the last thing I wanted to see was them roll into Oakland getting that first win.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. Before we get to a story that David did about another great Raiders community event here in Las Vegas and what they're doing to enrich themselves here in the Las Vegas community and make a difference, I want to just make a quick message. Of course, tomorrow is October 1st. And the 1st of October last year was a dark day in the history of our city, in the history of our country, to see what happened there. And so we have in our studio a sign that is silver and black. It says 58 with Vegas Strong. That's been in here since we started the show. And we want to take time to remember those folks that perished on that terrible day in Las Vegas. Also to remember the first responders and everyone else who supported the recovery of the city, and that includes each one of you. It still is fresh for us because it's only been a year, but as we come up on the year anniversary, I want to call out to people to remember, it was a terrible time, and a lot of people lost their lives. Their lives ended too soon, but I think, with all the sadness and all of the reflection we will have this week, I also want to make sure we remember those people that died and remember them in a very happy way and remember the positive impacts they had on their families and their folks. It makes us sad that they're not here. But there was an unknown poem, I should say, called The Afterglow. I want to read, too, because I think this is important to look at the impact that those people had in the lives of those they loved. And here it is. I'd like the memory of me to be a happy one. I'd like to leave an afterglow of smiles when life is done. I'd like to leave an echo whispering softly down the ways of happy times and laughing times in bright and sunny days. I'd like the tears of those who grieve to dry before the sun, of happy memories that I leave when life is done. So do something kind for someone this week, and do it for the 58 folks who died last year in Las Vegas, and make that a way to remember them and to make sure that not only them but their families are remembered in your thoughts, your prayers, and in your deeds, more importantly. So that's it. I just wanted to say that because it's tomorrow and it's a big anniversary in Las Vegas, and I hope that you spend some time reflecting on it tomorrow. All right. Okay, we're going to get back to Raider football. Now, the Raiders, again, we talk about all the time how this team is making its future home of Las Vegas really an important factor in everything that it's doing. And this week, David, you went out to an elementary school. The Raiders did another event here, and we're going to run your story, and then we'll talk to you about it after. So here's David Stepanian with story on the Raiders in the community.
Hey, to the back. Behind the cone. You're behind to the front. Go. To the left. To the right. To the back. You almost had it. Do a spin. Go.
While the Raiders might not be getting the right things done on the field, they're certainly getting the right things done off the field. Earlier this week, the Raiders partnered with Robert Taylor Elementary in Henderson to donate school supplies, textbooks, clothes, shoes, sports equipment, and a check for $35,000 in an effort to get the school up to par with state education standards, a task Principal Kim Basham has been spearheading for years.
This resource center seriously addresses the vision and mission that I had when I first came here, providing that. When I first came to Robert Taylor Elementary School, we had volunteers and we had partnerships in the community that were supporting us through their volunteer efforts, but we didn't have a resource center this size. We oftentimes were kind of scrounging and searching and looking and asking for assistance for socks, for underwear, for clothes, for shoes. Shoes are one of the biggest needs that we have here at Robert Taylor, and so with this resource center, we're able to provide that. This makes me a Raiders fan for life. I will tell you, born and raised in Colorado, I grew up watching John Elway, so you can imagine, my loyalty to the Denver Broncos, but I will tell you that having the Raiders Foundation embrace us the way that they have absolutely makes me a fan for life.
Taylor Elementary ranks near the bottom of several categories in Nevada, with 20% of students missing more than 18 days of school per year, and test scores ranking worse than 98% of schools in the state. But on this day, the school and the students began a new chapter to leave those statistics in the past, with a big helping hand from the Raiders, including UNLV alum Leo Gray, who played for the Rebels under coach Tony Knapp and won a Super Bowl with Oakland in 1981.
I had told the story earlier about a kid I saw first day of school that was walking, didn't have a backpack, and I asked where was his backpack, and he said he couldn't afford one. So it's those type of things that become big things that help children with their growth and development when, so many of them feel like no one really cares. So the Raiders, with the partnership between communities and schools, it's a big thing. So it's easy for me to come out and play a role in it and be a part of it.
Though the statistics may not be in Taylor's favor, this day signaled a new beginning for the school, with many of the students being excused from class to take part in a mini camp set up by the Raiders in the schoolyard, complete with the team's strength and conditioning staff and the Raiderettes cheering the students on as they ran drills through the mini camp. This is the first time the Raiders partnered with the CCSD Elementary School, but surely won't be the last, as the team continues to take part in helping Southern Nevada communities. For Silver and Black Today, I'm David Stepanian.
All right, David, good job, man. So real quick before we head to a break, tell us a little bit. The kids had to be excited.
This was pretty awesome to see, because we knew the statistics, and it is like one of the worst elementary schools in the state in certain categories, or in a lot of categories. But to see the kids actually with a genuine smile on their face, it was unbelievable. It was great to see, and everyone's thank you Raiders and this and that, and it was really I didn't expect it to have as much of an effect on me as it did. Because these kids are less fortunate than many others across the valley. So for the Raiders to invest in the school and invest in the youth and just to help them get on track.
Yeah. And that's the thing. They're doing such a great job of, and David, you're there for us all the time. So thank you, man. Great story. And we're going to now step aside. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by Vinny Bonsignore from The Athletic in Los Angeles. Are the Raiders going to play in San Diego next year? We'll talk to him about that right after this. You're listening to Silver and Black Today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
We're here with Chuck, founder of Dollar Loan Center. Chuck, can you tell us who the typical customer at Dollar Loan Center is?
You know that 40% of the population has a credit score of less than 550 or doesn't even have a checking account? And 25% of the population uses some type of short-term lender? What's my point? Try going to a bank and borrowing $800 for a couple weeks. They have no idea how to help you. And like it or not, that's the exact banking transaction that most people really need.
And Dollar Loan Center can fill that void, right?
We process hundreds of loans every day, and we love to say yes. We approve over 75% of our applicants and can send you out the door with cash in less than 30 minutes. In our world, that's what real people are looking for.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chuck. Get up to $5,000 in just minutes at Dollar Loan Center. We have over 50 locations, and our friendly Dollar Loan Center staff are ready to help. You can also apply over the phone or online at don'tbebroke.com.
Licensed by Nevada Financial Institutions Division. Customer must meet the normal loan qualifications. To review loan qualifications, visit us at don'tbebroke.com. Certain limitations may apply. Loans are subject to approval.
Join Sid, the Science Kid, on an amazing scientific adventure at Discovery Children's Museum on exhibit September 22nd. Experience Sid, the Science Kid, the Super Duper exhibit, a nationally traveling exhibit based on the Jim Henson Company's award-winning PBS TV series. Investigate everyday science questions around Sid's home, at school in the Super Fab Lab, and on the playground. For more information and tickets, visit discoverykidslv.org.
In life, just like in football, you need good hands to score. The Michael Westra Allstate Agency will carry you to success for every insurance need. Auto, business, home, life. Michael will personally see you get the best rates, and our full-service staff at 702-435-4211 will walk you through any claim, not refer you to an 800 number. For over 15 years, Michael has served charities in Las Vegas. He's ready to serve you at 702-435-4211, 702-435-4211.
Your friend is overdosing. She needs help. Your help. You need to call 911. In 2016, opiate overdoses claimed the lives of 408 Nevadans. Nevada passed the Good Samaritan Drug Overdose Act in 2015 so you can help without being afraid. The act provides certain protections for individuals who dial 911 seeking emergency help for themselves or another person experiencing an overdose. Most overdose deaths occur in the presence of others and can be prevented. Call 911 before it's too late. For more information on Nevada's Good Samaritan Drug Overdose Act, visit www.healthierNV.org. That's www.healthierNV.org. Don't be afraid to call 911. Sponsored by the Nevada Attorney General's Substance Abuse Working Group, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and the station.
Hi, I'm Aaron Taylor, the real estate guy. I've helped Nevada residents buy and sell over 5,000 homes since 1994. 048 Realty is proud to partner with the Nevada Broadcasters Association in recognizing the Nevada Military Support Alliance. Nevada servicemen and women are battle-born and often stand in harm's way to fight for our freedom, with some giving the ultimate sacrifice. I'm Aaron Taylor, the real estate guy, and I am Nevada proud.
Sponsored by 048 Realty, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and this station.
23 million veterans, heroes who need our help.
I learned myself that when you experience something like this, it's so traumatic, you can't do it alone.
Support our wounded warriors and their families at fisherhouse.org.
CBS Sports Radio. Callers and guests on the Newsmaker line are brought to you by the Law Office of Michael A. Troiano. Help us talk the silver and black. Call us at 702-889-5978. Here's Matt Gutierrez and your host, Scott Gulbranson, on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM.
Welcome back, everybody, to Silver and Black today, and we go to our weekly segment now, which is out on our attorney Michael Troiano Newsmaker line, and we bring in our cousin Vinny Bonsignore from The Athletic Los Angeles, NFL writer, longtime NFL writer there and other places. Vinny, how you doing this morning, buddy?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good. Do you actually get your Sunday maybe with your family because the game was on Thursday? You covered the Rams game, which we're going to talk about later. But do you get some time on Sunday, or are you dealing with jokers like us all day?
No, I do actually get some time off, and shout out to Sean McVay, the Rams coach. He gave the Rams and basically us the weekend off this weekend after their big win against the Vikings to go to 4-0. So everybody's happy. Trust me.
That's good news. Now let's jump right in, Vinny. This week, reports from our parent company to CBS Sports about the the Raiders.
No, it's San Diego.
The Raiders possibly playing in San Diego for 2019. There was also a rumor around somebody wanting to move another team to the San Diego area. But what are you hearing on the latest about the Raiders possibly playing in San Diego next season?
Yeah, that's always been a possibility, a strong possibility, a viable option for the Raiders. As we know, they don't have a place to play for 2019. There is no lease in place with the Oakland Coliseum. We do know that there's been talk about a lawsuit in Oakland, on behalf of the city of Oakland against the Raiders. So that muddies the waters a little bit. But San Diego has always been on the Raiders' radar in a lot of different ways. And so when you hear talk about it, it's absolutely accurate. There is a possibility that the Raiders will play in San Diego in 2019, and which would make for a pretty interesting situation. San Diego's not that far from Las Vegas. There's a strong Raiders base in that area, in and around that area. And when you're talking about that area, you're also talking about Los Angeles, Orange County, Riverside County, San Bernardino County. A lot of Raider fans, a stronghold right there. So certainly that's something to keep an eye on.
And Vinny, why have we not heard more about an option like Cal? That's one that I keep pointing to as being maybe the most viable, just logistically. You don't have to move your base of operations, your practice facility, any of that stuff. Everything is right there. You can even still do your camp in Napa and not miss a beat. It's actually closer to Napa than Alameda is. But why isn't Berkeley an option?
Well, first of all, I think wherever they go, they'll stay put in their practice facility. If they have to fly to a game, they'll do that. I think Cal, while logistically it's perfect, parking wise it's a nightmare. From what I understand, I've been to a couple of games there, and I remember having to hike pretty good hike to get to the stadium. So I think that parking logistics would play a role in that. Whereas in San Diego, you have a huge parking lot, great for tailgating. And it's also, if you're thinking long term, it's not a bad place to be in order to keep cultivating your fan base in that area of the state of California. So my understanding is, yes, Cal still is an option. Where the Santa Clara is an option as well. There's options up north, but they're going to do what's best for their organization and long range, and so that's why you're going to continue to hear talk about San Diego.
Now let's assume that the lawsuit ends up going through and the city of Oakland goes after the Raiders. How willing do you think are Mark Davis and his team going to be to just get the hell out of Oakland in general, just to step away from that? I mean, right now they've been playing this game where they're walking this line and trying to keep the Bay Area fans engaged while bringing in the new Vegas fans. If this lawsuit goes through, do you think that he's just going to say, to hell with it, we're out of here, let's get as far away from the Bay Area as we possibly can?
I mean, it's the one thing that I do know is that they really do, and I know that they're moving. They care about the fans, and it's the fans who get caught up in the middle of all this stuff, even though a lot of these decisions are completely out of their hands. So I think that from that perspective and the respect that he does have for those fans in the Bay Area who have been loyal, beyond loyal over the years, he wants to make it work, as much as he can in that area. But at some point, the water, it's not that the water or well is poisoned too much, but it would create a pretty bad situation if that was going on simultaneous to them playing their last season up there. But I know that they do want to make it work somehow, some way in that final year in the Bay Area. But if it gets right down to it, again, they're going to do what's best for their organization.
Now, Vinny, we're talking to Vinny Bonsignore from the Athletic Los Angeles, who joins us every week in this segment. Vinny, you were there, obviously, Thursday and saw just an amazing performance by Jared Goff and the Rams. Not only was it a great performance, but it was under the bright lights of prime time. And, of course, the Raiders are still waiting, and the Raider fans are really conflicted right now with the way that Derek Carr has started. Talk about Jared Goff and his progression and what makes him so good and why we've seen him grow versus where Derek Carr is at and what he might need to do to at least get to his full potential.
Yeah, well, I think with Jared Goff, the one thing obviously we have to acknowledge the fact that they've improved the team around him since his rookie year. Those three wide receivers that are doing so much damage: Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks. None of those guys were on the roster in 2016. Andrew Whitworth wasn't on the roster in 2016. John Sullivan, their center, wasn't on the roster in 2016, and obviously Sean McVay wasn't around in 2016. So they've revamped and retooled around him. But what I've always said about Jared Goff was I was a believer from day one. I just remember watching him in OTAs and training camp. And I know, it's practice and all that, and people sometimes scoff at that. But you get a sense, you get an idea of a skill set watching day after day after day, and he had the arm, the vision, the footwork. Everything was there to put together a really, 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 really good quarterback. He just needed a little bit of help as well to bring that out. And obviously we're seeing that. We're seeing that now. And for him, what stands out to me is the vision. You look at 3 different wide receivers who had over 100 yards on Thursday. That's not consistent, but the spreading of the ball around is a game-to-game-to-game situation. And why? Because he sees the field so well. He's doing a lot of things now at the line of scrimmage. He's able to buy time with his footwork, and he has the arm and the touch. The touch is what truly, truly stands out. He makes throws that you're like, as he's letting it go, you're like, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden just drops into somebody's hand in a tight window. So all of those are elite skill levels. As far as Derek Carr, I think Derek Carr is a top-tier quarterback. He just needs some help as well. He needs a better offensive line or, more time to throw, better weapons to throw to, and I think a better understanding of the offense that he's working with. But I see signs of Derek Carr that he's going to come out of this better off for this experience, and so will the Raiders offensively. Now they got to get things squared away across the board on their roster, but the future to me is still bright for Derek Carr.
All right, Vinny Bonsignore from The Athletic Los Angeles. Thanks, Vinny. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Have a great week.
All right, you're listening to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
WearRx.org, a public service from National Association of Boards of Pharmacy Foundation.
The final season game between the Dodgers and the Giants is this morning at 11 on CBS Sports Radio, 1140.
Hey, this is Rodney Hudson. You're listening to Silver and Black today.
Welcome back, everybody, as we look now to the game later today at 1 p.m. Pacific time as the Raiders host the resurgent, can we call resurgent after one win, the Cleveland Browns. I think everybody thinks that the Browns are much improved, and I think that's with good reason. We go out on the attorney Michael Troiano newsmaker line now, and we go to Daryl Ruiter. Daryl covers the team for The Fan in Cleveland. He is part of the Entercom family. Daryl, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
You bet. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, so now it's been a long time. The Browns get this win, and not only do they get this win, Daryl, but it's like a Hollywood script, okay? So Tyrod Taylor gets hurt, gets a concussion, he comes out of the game. Here comes number 1 overall pick, quarterback Baker Mayfield, who leads the Browns to a glorious victory, allowing the beer cooler in Cleveland to be opened and everything. Just how is the mood in Cleveland? Are people genuinely excited, concerned, cautiously optimistic? Where is everybody in Cleveland right now?
They're still celebrating. They hope to continue that celebration this afternoon if the Browns can win back-to-back games for the first time since 2014. It's been a long time since the Browns have played this well and actually look like a competent NFL football team on the field. So they've done that through the first 3 games. You could make an argument they should be 3-0, undefeated going into this game, but they are what their record is. They're in the picket fence right now, 1 win, 1 loss. And, of course, that tie to kick the season off against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they've hung with 2 Super Bowl contenders in the Steelers as well as the New Orleans Saints. And then, of course, they did what everyone expected them to do, and that is beat the New York Jets on Thursday Night Football. So they've had 10 or so days to get ready for this game in Oakland this afternoon, and the expectation is that they're going to continue to do what they did in the first 3 games, and that is come out playing some pretty good football.
And Daryl, Matt Gutierrez here. I just want to know how many of those free beers you got into, because those coolers were a big deal, man. We saw a lot of them. How much fun did you have out there?
As a responsible member of the media, the funny thing is they actually put one of the victory fridges in the press box.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So before I went to the locker room, I admit, I ran to the beer cooler, grabbed mine, and then set it next to my laptop so that when I came back from the locker room, it'd be there waiting, because I knew had I waited to get back from the locker room, that fridge was going to be empty. So I made sure I got mine, but I only had one.
We know how those media members can be.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, we know how that goes. And you know what, though? If for someone in the media like you who covers the team so closely on the flagship station there, it's hard to cover teams that are bad, too, after year after year after year. It's nice when there's some optimism because your listeners, you're not just getting hate calls. You're actually getting people who want to talk positive things. So that's good for everybody in Cleveland. Now, while there's been a lot of focus, I mean, I love John Dorsey. I think he was the right guy to come in there and to turn that franchise around from a player personnel standpoint, and he's done really, really well thus far. There's been a lot of focus, of course, on the quarterback position. But I'll tell you what, the Browns' defense has really shined so far this year, and while it has some issues against the run still, how good is this unit right now, and how good can it be in 2018?
Well, I think that they're as good as you've seen in the first 3 weeks. I don't think that this is a mirage or an aberration, not by any stretch of the imagination. The Browns have playmakers at every level of their defense. You got Myles Garrett, Larry Ogunjobi, Emmanuel Ogbah, Jannard Avery on the defensive line. You've got Christian Kirksey and Joe Schobert and Jamie Collins in linebacking core, Demarius Randall at safety, and then, of course, the rookie Denzel Ward. And you can't forget Terrence Mitchell, who's been a big addition as well, opposite of Ward in that secondary. So when you have guys that are making plays at all three levels of your defense, you've got the makings of a very special unit. So I don't think that what we've seen in the first couple of weeks is just a result of teams being surprised by the Browns. They forced 11 turnovers. A year ago, they only had 13 for the entire season. They're already at 11. So this is going to be a real big test for Derek Carr and that Raiders offense, no question about it. But where the Browns need to be concerned, they need to be concerned with Marshawn Lynch, and then, of course, they need to be concerned with the tight end Cooks.
Now, Daryl, go back to 2014. This is Derek Carr's first season, 0-10 to start the year. It had been a full calendar year since the Raiders won a football game. They finally get that win on Thursday night against the Chiefs, and I was at that game. It was like a playoff atmosphere in the Coliseum for an 0-10 team. Any success, when you haven't had success in such a long time, feels so much bigger than it actually is. You still have now Baker Mayfield, number 1 overall pick, a rookie quarterback coming into this game, making his first NFL start in what everybody considers a hostile environment in Oakland. We know how the fans can get out there. How realistic is it to think that he's just going to come in and it's going to be like the second half of that game against the Jets every single week?
I think it's realistic. Now, it's not going to be smooth sailing. Every quarterback goes through their ups and downs, no question about it. He is going to throw some interceptions. He is going to be under pressure and duress. But what has impressed me with Baker Mayfield since he was drafted in April is just he's unflappable. Just nothing phases this guy. Nothing seems to bother him. He is cool, calm, and collected, which is very, very difficult to do. And he understands the opportunity that's before him. He doesn't care that the Browns have started 29 quarterbacks before he's been on the field. He doesn't really care that the team hasn't won for decades. None of that, but he embraces the opportunity that's before him. And I think that that's just a little different approach than maybe some of the other quarterbacks that have come through here, because there's playing quarterback in the National Football League, and then there's having to do it in Cleveland, Ohio, where quarterback careers have come to die. Let's just call it the way it's been. Mm-hmm. And this kid isn't fazed by it. He embraces that. You know, he went into Ohio Stadium after having his teeth kicked in by the Buckeyes on his home field a year earlier, went in there and planted a flag at midfield. I mean, that's the kind of guy you want. And I think that the Raiders have that in Derek Carr as well. So I'm not the least bit concerned, believe it or not, about a rookie going into the black hole, which is one of the most hostile crowds in the National Football League, and being able to go out there and compete and perform. I'm not worried about it because this kid has been that impressive.
Now, we're talking to Daryl Ruiter from The Fan in Cleveland. Daryl covers the Browns. Now, Daryl, the big issue, or I should say a big move that the team made as the season started was they stood by troubled wide receiver Josh Gordon for a long time. They traded him to New England after his latest incident, after not showing up for practice and showing up late. Is there a sense of relief now in that organization because the focus has changed, and with Baker Mayfield and with this team seemingly altogether kind of pointed in the right direction? How has the dynamic changed in the organization and the locker room since that move was made?
Well, I don't know that there's been a big shift in the dynamic both within the organization and the locker room. I'll just say I think the dark cloud has been lifted off the organization because for years it's been, but Josh Gordon's going to save us. Josh Gordon, we're waiting on Josh Gordon. As soon as Josh Gordon comes back, great things are going to happen. And now you don't have to worry about it. Who cares? Josh Gordon is the most unreliable player in the National Football League. He's one of the most. He gets more hype off the field. There's some in Cleveland that call him an Instagram model because he spends more time on Instagram posting his workouts than actually being on the field playing football games on Sunday. So if he goes on to be the Antonio Brown with the New England Patriots, God bless him. That means he got his life together and whatever. But he was never going to realize his potential with the Cleveland Browns. That's what became apparent to me. Maybe a change of scenery works out for him. I think the Cleveland Browns are going to be fine without Josh Gordon. I really do. And I say that realizing what type of football talent that Gordon possesses, and that's the only reason the Cleveland Browns put up with him for 6 years was because of that once-in-a-generation Hall of Fame talent. But the Browns will be just fine without him, as we saw last Thursday night against the Jets.
How much conversation have you had with Hugh Jackson coming back to Oakland? One of only two coaches, well, three coaches now with the 2016 season actually being a winning season, but to not have a losing season with the Raiders. Him and Cable in back-to-back years went 8-8. So he found a little success there. He was there the year that Al Davis died. It was such a big deal, that whole thing. What is his mindset coming back to Oakland?
Well, he's just treating this like another business trip. He didn't really seem all that excited about it. I mean, the first week of the season, we had Todd Haley versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Week 2 was Greg Williams versus the New Orleans Saints, and now week 4 we've got Hugh Jackson against the Oakland Raiders. I'm sure Hugh really wants to win this game. He loved nothing more than to beat the team that fired him. That's just human nature, but is he putting any extra emphasis or is he, losing any sleep over this game? I don't think so. I think that, he's going to approach this game the same way he's approached, every other game this season. So while it's a nice talking point for you and I to discuss and others, in the media, I think that Hugh Jackson's trying to figure out ways to contain, beast mode and Derek Carr and, really go after that Raider defense now that 52 Khalil Mack isn't on the field. That's where I think Hugh Jackson's focus is.
Now, Daryl, one of the big things, too, for the Browns, obviously the quarterback situation. They addressed that. Then they also went out and grabbed Nick Chubb in the draft as well at running back. But El Guapo, right? El Guapo, of course, is Carlos Hyde. And Carlos Hyde has had a great start to this season. Is there feeling in the organization and amongst Todd Haley, the offensive coordinator there, that he is a guy that they think can develop into that number one starter, or is it going to be focused on developing Chubb?
Well, Chubb's getting about 5 snaps a game, so that answers your question right there. Carlos has had a great week. Last Thursday night was his birthday. His son was on the way. He was late to the stadium because he was with his girlfriend at the hospital awaiting the birth of his kid. He comes out, shows up late for warm-ups, goes out, scores a couple of touchdowns, nearly runs for 100 yards, leaves the stadium as soon as the Browns took the football over with 14 seconds left. He raced to the locker room so he could get back to the hospital. I think that he has already established himself as the consistent player that the Browns thought when they signed him to that 3-year, $15 million contract in the offseason. And, sure, they're going to develop Nick Chubb, but right now they're trying to win football games, and I really do believe that Haley feels that he knows exactly what he's going to get when he puts the football in Carlos Hyde's hands.
What is it that's slowing Chubb down right now from getting carries? Is he not picking up the offense? Is he just not as productive as maybe they hoped he would be? What does he look like in practice?
Well, we don't get to see a lot in practice outside of them, stretching and that's about all we see. So there's not a lot to glean from. And I'll tell you this: I mean, you look at times during training camp in the preseason, explosive, and then there were times where he didn't really look explosive. And it's one of those things where they signed Carlos to come in and be the bell cow back, and that's what he is, and Chubb is an option for them. And I think that as the season goes along, Chubb will start to get some more carries and more situations in that. But I can tell you, in the first couple of weeks, he's had a couple of snaps where his pass blocking, he missed an assignment here and there, and that's obviously not positive. And then again, unless he, in one of his very, very few carries he gets, unless he busts a 15, 20, 25-yard plus run, they're going to stick with the hot hand, and that hot hand is Carlos Hyde, and Todd Haley made no secret about that going into the season as far as what his philosophy was with running backs. He goes with the guy that's got the hot hand, and so far this season that has been Carlos Hyde.
One more thing, too, Daryl, with a few minutes we have left with you, that defense, takeaway parade, I mean, they have just been phenomenal. 13 takeaways all of last year, 11 so far in this season. Is that going to be the key for them to beat the Raiders in Oakland?
Well, I mean, I think that's the key every week, obviously. You got to win the turnover battle, and the Browns have done that. The problem for the Browns hasn't been the turnovers. It's turning those turnovers into points. Talking to defensive players this week, they're like, yeah, we're going to get our turnovers. Now we have to score. Like, we can't just turn it over to the offenses. We have to return these interceptions and these fumbles for touchdowns. So that, I think, is going to be something to watch as the season goes on, because they feel like they're going to get their opportunities to get on a football to turn them into points. Problem for the offense, 11 turnovers, just 3 scoring drives, and a total of 13 points off of those turnovers.
Wow. Daryl, well, listen, man, I appreciate it, and congrats to the folks in Cleveland. It's good that there's some optimism out there. We appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, Daryl Ruiter from The Fan in Cleveland, taking a look at the game coming up later today. You're listening to the Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
The only way to take Silver and Black today with you is with the radio.com app. Download it today and search CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas and listen to us anytime, anywhere.
All right, it's time for a little legal talk around the NFL. And as always, when we have legal issues and we want to talk about that, we bring in our legal expert, and that, of course, is criminal defense attorney Michael Troiano. Michael, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing great. Good morning, and congrats to your guys' award. I saw, Podcast of the Year?
Oh, yes. We didn't talk about that yet. But, yes, thank you. We're very fortunate. The team here worked hard, and the Nevada Press Association awarded us with their Podcast of the Year, which was great. We beat out the big ones. The RJ actually finished second for their Raiders podcast. So not only are we the top podcast in the state, but we're also the top Raiders podcast along with the show here. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that,
awesome.
Michael. And luckily, I haven't had any, other than getting ready for the show or talking sports, I haven't had to call you for any of your professional services. But in Minneapolis this past week, there has been an interesting situation with defensive end Everson Griffin. Griffin was at the team headquarters, was acting strange. He was, according to the player development executive there, Les Pico, he was, quote, explosive, screaming and yelling. So the Vikings call the police and call medical attention. And next thing you know, Griffin is in custody, I guess, and you'll explain this to us, and then goes to the hospital where he was under a 72-hour observation. So Michael, with this situation, you have somebody acting strange. People might view it as threatening. Legally, what happens with an athlete like this and anyone who is acting strangely?
Well, according to his specific story, at least in the articles I read, the timeline is a little choppy. My best understanding is he was acting strange at the facility, and then there were some issues with his wife, and then he had a threat regarding a gun in his hotel room, and then the ambulance comes in, which is very awkward and surprising, and apparently jumps out and escapes from the ambulance. But reading everything that I saw, I'm not exactly sure of how that lined up. As far as Nevada is concerned, if you're ever in a position where you have a friend, family member, loved one, coworker who is acting very erratic to the point where you feel that they're a danger to themselves or somebody else in society, you can make a call to the police to inform them, and they will show up because they're required to by law to verify if this is going to rise to the level of bringing them into custody. And we're not necessarily saying that they've done something illegal or they've broken a criminal statute, but just that type of behavior which may lead you to believe that there's going to be a serious issue coming up very shortly or down the line. And that's called a legal 2000. And if the police show up and they observe some of that behavior that you stated in your report or in your phone call to the police, then they will involuntarily take you into custody as if you committed a crime, and then you'll be evaluated over a 72-hour period. And at that time, once the conclusions are made by the medical staff to see whether or not you can be released, it's going to be up to the patient if they want to voluntarily stay or they have a right to counsel at the hearing to release them. So there's a lot of avenues that can protect not only themselves but the public at large.
Reports are that it could have been alcohol or narcotic induced, his behavior. How do they take that into account during the observation? Is it a case of, okay, this is because he was doing these things and it's really not a mental health issue, it's more of a influence from these outside things? Sure,
and that is part of it in the statutes. Again, as far as Nevada's concerned, his incident didn't happen there. I'm sure they have somewhat different guidelines, but if we're working under the Nevada guidelines, if the police show up and you're inebriated or you're under influence of marijuana or some other kind of drug, that alone, unless you did commit an actual crime, is not going to give them the authority to bring you in. If you're just drunk or wasted and being a jerk and being erratic and that's it, then very likely they're not going to take you into custody. That legal 2000 tool is not to be used as a drunk tank. They need to figure out if there's actually a deep-seated issue there. And I believe he was making statements that, like, God made him do these things and things like that would lead most reasonable people to believe it's probably more than a little marijuana in your system or, one too many shots.
Yeah, and it sounds like he's had trouble previous to that. He was reported to have threatened a clerk at a local hotel, saying that that he would shoot them if he didn't get into his room. I guess he was locked out of his room. Then another incident, he attempted to break into the home of his teammate Trey Waynes, and that's where he said, as you said, Michael, that God made him do it. Now, with these situations, and you have this, you have this fine line between, okay, there could be a mental health issue, or it could be substance abuse. You don't know. Some people might be apprehensive to call the police on someone they love or as a friend of theirs, especially a high-profile athlete like this that plays in the NFL. But this doesn't mean it'll go on their criminal record, correct? Because if they're not officially arrested or have an issue where they violated a law, this really becomes a mental health issue, correct?
Correct. They're typically filed under seal, and there's protections regarding HIPAA and things like that if it doesn't rise to the level of criminal charges being brought. But if we get to that point where there are criminal charges that are being brought because they did some sort of violation outside of just their awkward behavior, there's still avenues that you and your family can use, and I do with my clients. I'll have somebody who, quite frankly, does either have a substance abuse issue, a mental health problem, maybe a mix of both, and at least, again, here in Nevada, there's certain courts that we call specialty courts that you can petition to have your client be placed in. So, for example, if your client was a veteran of the United States Marines, Air Force, Army, whatever it may be, they have a lot of specialty courts, veterans court, where depending on their crime, they may be eligible to participate in them, and they cater especially to those veterans with those specific needs. If you're not a veteran, you still have hope. If it's a drug issue, there's something just quite frankly called drug court where they specifically address those issues and try to wean and work you off with it. And you participate with other people who are drug addicts. And you have the mental health court, too, which is something that he may need to get placed into if at any time these issues lead to a criminal violation.
Got about a minute and a half left. How much of this can he now turn around on the Vikings or the NFL? Because the big talk is always going to be the CTE, the head trauma, things of that nature. Is this something that he can go and, hey, look, it's because of this and fall back on that with any kind of legal ramification?
I mean, it certainly depends. I don't know where he's going to go with this. I think right now everybody involved thinks he needs to be evaluated and see where it is. If he did start pointing the finger at the NFL, I think it's going to be a long road as far as the discovery process is concerned. They're probably going to look back to his childhood. Is this something he did before even playing football? I don't think an NFL organization or any reasonable, fair person is just going to take it on its face that this is a CTE issue. But that's always a possibility. It's a rough sport, and the evidence is out there now.
All right. Thank God we have a big brain like you around to tell us and work us through these things. And, of course, if you have any issues, if you have an issue like this, you have any sort of criminal issue, whether it's small, large, doesn't matter what it is, you want to reach out to Michael, TroianoVegasLaw.com. You can also call him at 702-843-5500. He is our legal expert here on the Silver and Black today. And, Michael, we thank you for coming in, and we'll talk to you again real soon. You'll be on in a couple weeks.
I appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right. Michael Troiano, make sure you check out TroianoVegasLaw.com or 702-843-5500. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to speak to Austin Gayle from Pro Football Focus on the Raiders' pass rush or lack thereof. You're listening to the Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
And a shot of adrenaline, sports adrenaline, Saturday morning from 8 to 10 on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
The most in-depth coverage of the Silver and Black as they set their sights on Las Vegas for 2020. Live from the CBS Sports Radio 1140 studios, it's Silver and Black today. Join the conversation by calling 702-889-5978. Now, here's Scott Gulbranson and Matt Gutierrez.
All right, welcome back, Raider Nation. We switched from legal conversations. Man, you know, I got through school, I got my college degree, but I was not real academic. So when you talk to like a guy like Michael who went through this big law school and all that kind of stuff, it's like, man.
The knowledge, man. He's got it all. It's all filed away. My best friend is an anesthesiologist. And it doesn't matter what question you throw at him, he's got it filed away back there where he's got an answer for it. It's just it's amazing. That kind of mindset, it amazes me always.
That's right. But I will tell you this too. If you're getting ready, you're going to go. Where are you going to go watch the Raider game today? Right? I mean, 1:00 against the Browns. Where are you going to go to yell at the TV when there's no pass rush?
Yeah, don't sit in front of your own. You might break it throwing things at it.
Yeah, but I got a place for you. It's called The Pint. It's up on West Charleston. Not only is it great cold beer like Bad Beat Brewery beer you can get there, but it's also got amazing food. And not only that, they play the Raider games with the sound up. So you can actually hear what's going on. You can hear the announcers bias against the Raiders.
You can hear the fourth quarter lead slip away. Man.
But anyway, The Pint is a sponsor of CBS Sports Radio 1140 here and of Silver and Black today. We love those guys. Hopefully we're going to be out there soon. You guys need to go. If you want to watch the Raider game, go there. It's one great spot to do it up on West Charleston, so make sure you do that as well. All right, we're now going to go out again on the attorney Michael Troiano Newsmaker line, and we bring in the NFL editor at Pro Football Focus, and that is Austin Gayle. Austin, how you doing today?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no, we appreciate you coming on. Now, we are going to talk about earlier in the week, because you have, like our attorney, Michael Troiano, who was in here earlier, you have one of these minds that Matt and I don't have, which it's just a lot more numbers-oriented, and you follow a whole different train than I do. But you looked into the numbers behind the Raiders' pass rush. Now, of course, we've heard the media in the Bay Area, media all over the country, talk about the pass rush or lack thereof for the Raiders, especially because they traded away one of the best in the league, if not the best, in Khalil Mack to the Bears. Just how bad, Austin, has the Raiders' pass rush been through the first 3 weeks of the season?
Yeah, well, Gruden said it best. It's hard to find a great pass rusher, and the Raiders are suffering from that right now. Through 3 weeks, they have 23 total pressures, which is the lowest in the NFL. But if you compare it to last season, the Raiders had 47 total pressures in the first 3 games of the 2017 season. That's more than double. That is, just by all the numbers, words you can say, very, very bad and a very big regression. And it's mainly because they don't have an elite pass rusher. Bruce Irvin, yes, has been talented in the past, but he is far from and has been far from a disappointment of a first-round pick and not an elite pass rusher. And without someone to command double teams and really be a game plan changer for the opposing offensive coordinator, this Raiders team just simply can't win one-on-one blocks at the line of scrimmage and can't create pressure on the quarterback. The highest-rated pass rusher for them right now is Leon Hall. Listing on quarterback lists, yes, that's a limited sample size because he doesn't blitz every down, but that's just another number that just kind of, testifies just how bad this Raiders pass rush is, and it doesn't look like it's going to get much better.
Why, Austin, has Gunther been so reluctant to bring more pressure. If you can't get pressure with your front four, you have to get creative. You have to start dialing up blitzes. You have to do something to get the quarterback off his spot. What is it about Gunther that he's been so reluctant to do that?
Yeah, well, Gunther actually isn't blitzing in the lowest percentage in the league. He's middle of the pack there. He is dialing up some stunts. He's dialing up some creative blitzes with Leon Hall coming up from the slot. He's even called some safety blitzes. But at a certain point, the lack of talent is not maskable, or you can't be masked with blitzes. Yes, you got to blitz more, but you can't blitz on every play. You don't have great blitzing linebackers. You don't have great blitzing cornerbacks. Leon Hall is not a great blitzing cornerback, but he's getting pressure because of Gunther's scheme, and he's able to get unblocked pressures for Leon Hall. I don't think a lot of the blame needs to be on Gunther here. I think it's on the talent. Yes, PJ Hall's been banged up. He had a very poor start to the season, largely because of injury. Maurice Hurts is getting there. Arden Key is flashed at times, but still, he's led the team in pressures with 2 this last week, and just 2 pressures isn't going to get the job done. He's a one-trick pony in terms of his pass rush repertoire, and it was kind of hurt him at LSU. He could only beat people around the edge. He had the lowest percentage of pressures that were resulted from bull rushes of any edge defender entering the draft, and that's because he's got only the speed, and just speed isn't going to help you at the NFL level. I think the Raiders really need to invest in that, in that edge presence. Obviously Bruce Irvin probably won't be with the team next year given his contract situation, but they need to double down on finding a guy that can actually put pressure on every, on every down, win one-on-one situations, because it's not going to get any better for this team if they don't address it in the future. Yeah,
unfortunately, I think they have a pretty good blitzing safety on that team in Joseph, but for whatever reason, he just doesn't seem to get on the field anymore, but that's a different discussion.
So, Austin, the question then becomes, and to your point about talent, right? You have to have the talent. You traded away an amazing talent. No sense in harping on it. It is what it is. It's done. Is there anybody out there, looking at the numbers, is there anybody out there that is a free agent that's sitting out waiting for a call that might be someone that could come in and help them?
Yeah, absolutely, and you have to look at Junior Gillette. Obviously, he has the off-field issues. I think he was, charged with a DUI or had a thing, with alcohol, and I'm not sure if he ended up getting charged, but a DUI kind of put him off the list for a lot of teams. But at this point, they can take anyone. And Junior Gillette actually had a very productive season in a limited sample size as a pass rusher last year. And I think if you brought him in, it could only improve this pass rush. Right now, their rotation at the edge defender includes Tink Carradine, Arden Key, Bruce Irvin, Shalik Calhoun, guys that have proven in the past that they can't win consistently. They can't rush the quarterback in the top half of the league in terms of grade, in terms of pass rush productivity, total pressures. Bringing in a guy like Gillette, it's literally the worst defense in pass rush, pressure percentage, the worst defense in total pressures, the worst defense in win percentage. It can't hurt. Bring in Gillette just to try and climb out of 32nd. That's all I can really say.
What are they doing with Bruce Irvin that maybe not playing to his strengths? There was a lot of talk last year with the Jack Del Rio and Ken Norton Jr. led defense that Irvin wasn't being utilized properly. Is Gunther able to put him in the right position? Is he just not doing his own job, or are they backing him off a little too much?
No, I think he is playing the right position. I think last year he ended up playing a very significant percentage of his snaps at slot cornerback and cornerback in coverage, which is absolutely absurd. He ended up replying to a tweet I sent out to him saying, finally you're back at defensive end in Gunther's scheme, and he was like, thank the Lord, or something like that. But I think he's playing the right position, but I think it's 2 things. One, he's never been, that guy. He's never been the pass rusher. When in his career best season, Khalil Mack had an MVP year. Khalil Mack played the best of his career and allowed Bruce Irvin a lot of one-on-one situations. He was feeding off the energy of Mack, able to kind of have parties with the quarterback. That's when they were the Slash Bros. And now, with him just being the only one there, it's hard for him to create a pass rush when he's taking on the double team. And he's getting chipped with the tight end and the running back. And I think the last 2 games have been very hard weather-wise. And I think weather is an easy scapegoat and sometimes, somewhat of a bad excuse, but it was the hottest it's ever been in Denver history for a game, and in Miami it was a little bit worse in terms of humidity, and he struggled late in that game. He struggled with, he's obviously tired, obviously exhausted, and when you're being asked to be that pass rusher on every down, I'm like, you can't take plays off, and he was taking plays off. I think everyone was taking plays off down the stretch of those 2 games, and that's what allowed the big plays in the fourth quarter in both those games.
All right, Austin, we're talking to Austin Gayle from Pro Football Focus. He is the NFL editor there and our go-to expert on the numbers. Now, Austin, in about the minute and a half we have left with you, What about? I've been impressed with the improvement in the defensive backfield for the Raiders, including Garyon Conley coming on as basically a rookie because he was injured all last year. What do the numbers look like for them, and where have we seen the improvement specifically when it comes to the pass defense?
Yeah, the Raiders' boundary corners, Garyon Conley and Rashaan Melvin, are both having very, very good starts to the season. They're playing much better than I think any cornerback tandem for the Oakland Raiders. For the past decade, if not more, in terms of allowing catches, breaking up passes, and playing their guys well in man coverage, both from a press standpoint and when they're playing off coverage. I think the Raiders should be very thankful that both those guys are playing well. They obviously didn't invest big, but they kind of doubled down on Rashaan Melvin's career year last year and gave him a 1-year prove-it deal to see if it's real. It's definitely real. He's playing very well, and Garyon Conley has given up some plays that he'd like to have back, specifically that one in Denver that allowed the Broncos to get in the field position for a field goal. But I think he, from an overall standpoint, from a high-level standpoint, he has played very well for coming off a very significant injury last year. I think he is only going to get better, and I think Melvin's going to consistently be that guy they can lean on along the boundary. From a safety standpoint and slot cornerback, I think there can be improvement both ways. I think Marcus Gilchrist and Reggie Nelson are turning out to be, guess what? Marcus Gilchrist and Reggie Nelson. So both of them are very, struggling to deal with speed down the stretch, limit big plays, make tackles. As they've been, it's playing as kind of like backup level or replacement level safeties for these last couple of years. I think, the fact that Carl Joseph's not playing is a concern. You have to address that safety position. They wish they could have. They tried to do it with Obi Melifonwu. They tried to do it with Carl Joseph. Both aren't playing for this team right now. I think that safety position is a glaring need, probably second in line to an edge rusher.
Guy up in Seattle looking to get out.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Could be. Well, Austin, man, thank you so much for joining us today to talk Raiders and talk about their defense. You can find Austin Gayle at Pro Football Focus. We are a media subscriber. It is great stuff. Doesn't matter if you're doing fantasy football, if you're just want to know about stats and read the latest news and information. Austin and the guys at Pro Football Focus, the men and women there, do an amazing job. So, Austin, thanks again, man. We'll talk to you real soon.
Of course. Thank you.
All right. Austin Gayle, Pro Football Focus, has been our guest. Whew. Not good up front, Matt. Not good at all.
Oh, they've been pretty terrible.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to be joined by former Los Angeles Raiders quarterback Jay Schroeder, which will be fun. We're going to ask him about Derek Carr and about the NFL's preposterous rule around pass interference. Excuse me, roughing the passer. You're listening to Silver and Black today on Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
The guests on the Newsmaker line are brought to you by the Law Office of Michael A. Troiano.
Hey, this is Tim Brown, Hall of Famer. You're listening to Silver and Black today.
All right, welcome back, Raider Nation. And just a reminder, too, we have a lot of great sponsors here, and one of them is Michael Westra, Allstate Insurance. If you have needs, you got to give this guy a call. He's part of our community. He's not there just to sign you up for an insurance and let you go. He actually cares. You need something, whether it's your home, whether it's car, whether it's other types of insurance. Michael Westra can help you. So make sure you give him a call at 702-435-4211. Michael Westra, Allstate Insurance, a proud sponsor of the Silver and Black today. Now, speaking of Silver and Black, we're going to head out on the attorney Michael Troiano Newsmaker line, and we bring in former Los Angeles Raiders quarterback Jay Schroeder. Jay Schroeder played 10 years in the NFL, of course, a UCLA guy. Who can forget that memorable game against USC with the deflected pass to Freeman McNeil to beat USC. USC fans remember, I'm telling you that. No doubt about it. Jay, thanks for joining us here on the Silver and Black today.
Hey, glad to be with you guys. How are you doing this morning?
Doing great. Now, one of the first things we want to talk to you about, you played in two high-profile cities. You were part of a Super Bowl team, and, of course, part of the Los Angeles Raiders and everything that went along with playing in and under the bright lights of L.A., not only in college but with the Raiders. Derek Carr. So Derek Carr coming off 2 seasons where he's had pretty significant injuries and has a lot of expectations put upon his shoulders. Comes into this year, statistically has put up some really great numbers, but also has made some, I think, plays turnovers in the end zone and whatnot in the red zone, and it's gotten a lot of criticism. Talk about, for you, being a former NFL quarterback, being a young guy like that who has his fourth system, his fourth playbook in 5 years. How difficult is that for a quarterback, no matter how much talent you have?
Well, there's no question it's very difficult, and what you're seeing is Derek is putting a lot of pressure on himself to be the one and only playmaker instead of letting things happen. He's trying to force things a little bit, especially trying to get that first victory, and it's tough. Young guys always want to be. He's had success. He knows what it's like to have success, but now he's got another new coach. He's got another new system, and he's just trying to reach out and make every play the best play, and sometimes you have to just take what the defense gives you instead of trying to force things. And he's played well, but he has made some turnovers where he's tried to force some things and make some things happen that just aren't there.
Hey, Jay, Matt Gutierrez here. Talking about Carr and the way he looked in 2016, where it just seemed like he had more confidence than anybody in the NFL. And now it almost feels like there's been this regression where he's not stepping into his throws the right way. He almost looks like he's trying to aim the ball too often. Have you seen physically a regression in the way that he plays, or can you just put this all on the fact that it's this constant turnover in the system that he's in?
Well, it's a combination of all that. It's the constant turnover of the system because he's thinking a little bit. Football's got to be a game of reaction. You can't think. Everything happens so fast that it just has to be a reaction. So some of that is part of that. Some of that is due to his injuries over the years, trying to figure out what the body's going to do. It doesn't. Your body never fully recovers, and you can't do the things like you used to. And you have to make adjustments. So it's an adjustment period, and he's going to go through it. And hopefully, we can get him through this year healthy, and things will progress, and he'll learn the system, and it'll pick up towards the end of the year here, I hope.
And we're talking to Jay Schroeder, former Los Angeles Raiders quarterback, and we appreciate him being with us today. Now, Jay, when you were in Washington, you suffered a separated shoulder, so you had a significant injury, and that comeback and trying to get back to where you were physically before the injury. Talk about the mental side of that. Even when you start to feel better physically, is there lag too from a mental perspective so that you feel like comfortable in everything that you're doing from a physical and a mental standpoint?
Oh, no question about it. Yeah, that was, in my case, when I separated my shoulder, I came back after 4 weeks, and the strength in my arm just wasn't there. So my mind and my body was telling me to make throws, but I just couldn't physically do it. And the ball just didn't come out like I wanted it to. So you have to make that adjustment. And it's hard mentally because you know what you can do and you know what you are capable of doing, but you just can't do it. And you have to make those adjustments. And you've seen everybody go through it. You saw Aaron Rodgers go through it. These guys that have had injuries, it's a tough deal. The mental part of it is just as tough as the physical, because you get to the physical part and you feel like your body's good. Now you got to go out. And it's, let's take Carson Wentz, for example. Anytime you have a major knee injury like that, you're never fully sure until you get hit that first time on it. You're like, oh, okay, I'm okay. And it's the same thing with everything. When I had my separated shoulder, it probably took me about a year, and then I made a throw, and I went, hey, I'm back to what I could do before. So it's a process. It takes a while.
Hey, Jay, David Stepanian here. So I just want to expand a little bit on Matt's question from earlier. So we've seen Derek Carr play through 3 weeks now, and he's looked really good at times. He's looked really bad at times. So is this sort of just like a funk he's going through? I mean, if you're a quarterback, you're going through a funk. Like, what's going through your head at that moment, and what does he need to do to sort of get out of it?
Well, it's not only Derek that's in a funk; it's the whole team. This is a whole team process, and everybody goes through it. And when you get on a run where everybody feels good, it's wonderful to watch. But what's happening right now with the Raiders, without a victory, everybody's pressing to try to get that first victory. And when you press, things just don't happen naturally. They got to get over that. Somebody's going to make a big play, and the tide will turn. Momentum is so big in this game, and right now they're fighting that. They've had leads, they've lost leads, and they're trying to get over that hump where they feel good about themselves going in instead of questioning, how are we going to finish this game? There's a difference between going in and going, hey, we're going to go win this game, or we're trying not to lose this game. And they're caught in that in between, and that's a tough place to be right now.
Jay, good or bad, you played in an era where you were allowed to beat up the quarterback. You were allowed to beat up the receivers. Pretty much everybody on the field was getting the crap beat out of them every week. How do you feel now about the way that the rules have changed? In particular, this roughing the passer flag that's being thrown every 5 seconds now, and it's not. We understand when guys are coming blindside or it's a late hit, and it's these really egregious helmet to helmets, but just falling on a guy when you're making a tackle, it seems like it's gone a little too far.
Oh, there's no question it's gone too far. It's ridiculous what they're calling now as far as roughing the passer. I remember when I was in the league, I think it was my second or third year, they came in and they said, hey, we're going to change the rule. We're not going to give them more than 2 steps after you throw it. If they hit you after those 2 steps, then we'll call the flag. So, I mean, we got hit on every play. Now you can't, I understand. I'm totally for the let's not hit him in the head. Everybody understands that with what's going on. I understand. But this, I don't know. I'm sitting here watching Clay Matthews. I know his dad from being out in California and stuff. I'm like, how do you play? How does a defensive guy who makes a living sacking the court, how does he play? Because in my estimation, he made 3 really good plays and he got flagged 3 times and it cost him, a couple of ball games. I don't know how you play defense anymore. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I understand the league. The league is about offense, and the league wants to protect quarterbacks to make sure that their stars don't get hurt. And you can appreciate that, but there is going too far, and certainly that's an issue. Now, Jay, later today, you're going to be down at Mandalay Bay here in Las Vegas, so folks want to come out and meet you. You're going to be there for the Raiders Red Zone Booster Club party to watch the game today. They're going to have beer specials out there, and they're going to be able to meet and spend some time with you. Talk about what it's like for you in the minute and a half or so we have left. Being a Raider, now you played for a few other teams, including the Redskins, but being a Raider has with it a whole different thing. What's it like when you go out and you talk to Raiders fans and they remember the days from when you played for the team?
It is an absolute blast to go out and talk with Raider fans. It's it's funny because it is Raider Nation. That's what it is. And anywhere we traveled when we were playing, the Raiders have a following all around the country, and it's unique. It's special, and it brings a special breed. And it's always been the mentality of that Mr. Davis brought in. Just win, baby. Hey, sometimes it looks ugly, but it's always physical. It's always been a physical brand of football, and it's fun to see that, and people remember that, and it's fun to be around them.
All right. Well, sorry. Go ahead,
Jay, I just wanted to thank you again. We've seen you checking in a couple of times on our sister show, on our Facebook Live show, Sports Adrenaline Las Vegas. We appreciate the support for the Vegas boys out here, and we definitely hope to see you out here more when the Raiders come to town.
Well, I plan on it. I just live up the road in St. George, so I plan on being here a bunch. So it's beautiful country out here. I love it.
It is beautiful. And again, you can go out and check Jay out, spend some time with him, and talk to him about his career and about the Raiders. That's the Raiders Red Zone Booster Club, which is this today at 12:30. It starts at 12:30 pregame. Of course, the kickoff's at 1:05. Menu specials, drink specials, raffles, games, and of course, Jay will be there. Also, music and entertainment by DJ Thump too. So. Jay, are you going to break out some hip hop when you're there?
I don't know if I'll break out some hip hop, but as the game progresses. But maybe I'll get it. DJ Thump, you never know.
All right, Jay. Listen, man, we'd love to have you back. We appreciate you taking the time today. We know you're busy, and thanks very much.
You bet. Have a great day, guys.
All right, you too. All right, Jay Schroeder, former Los Angeles Raider. It was great to hear. I mean, he echoes all the thoughts that we have about the rule with roughing the passer and everything going on. So
that thing it's so frustrating to watch it, especially the inconsistency. You saw it last week in the Dolphins and Raiders game. It's rough, man. That thing's bad. All
right, when we get back, Matt Gutierrez is going to call an audible. We'll talk to you right after the break. This is Silver and Black Today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
This is Silver and Black Today, live on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Here's your host, Scott Gulbranson.
It is an NFL Sunday. It is a Raiders Sunday. You're watching on Facebook. By the way, you can watch us on Facebook. You can watch us on YouTube and on the Sports Radio 1140 Twitter handle. I mean, you can watch us anywhere you're at.
Pretty much. This day and age. What do you always say? Put us in your pocket.
By the way, again, Tony Cardasco is directing our video today and producing that, so we appreciate that.
I want to give a shout-out to Tony, by the way, rocking all the UNLV gear during the bye week.
Who? What school?
UNLV.
No, I know Tony, but
the Rebel gear. All the Rebel
Scott's
gear.
very salty on UNLV most days.
Oh,
so.
man. Sorry. 2-2, man.
Yeah.
Bowl games coming this year.
2-2. Who have you been?
Bowl game. We're going bowling.
And, by the way, keeping us on time, doing an amazing job engineering. And I think she's eating breakfast over there, so I don't want to put her on camera. I was going to put her on camera. Tony, you want to put her on camera? Sonia Schlobaum is here, and Sonia is good. Sonia, now you're wearing your Purdue shirt today.
Yes, I am.
Because you're a Boilermaker.
Yes.
And you're not a big NFL fan, but you're getting up to speed now because we're making you, right?
Yeah, it's not that I'm not a fan. I just don't follow it as much as I follow college football. So I still am a fan.
And
Wait till they get here.
Are you gonna embrace the Raiders, or do you have an NFL team that you would call your own if you were?
Yes.
Not the Colts.
No, I was born and raised a Bears fan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, at least you have Mac.
Yeah, so I have that.
And Trubisky.
Trubisky.
Evens out.
Trubisky. All right. Well, Sonia, thanks for doing everything you do.
Of course.
I appreciate that. And feel free to jump in anytime. Now, we're going to turn it over because it is our quarterback's turn, Matt Gutierrez. I am not going to allow you to put your hands anywhere like I'm a center, but I am centering you the ball now.
You know, before we jump into that, we had an interesting question on the Facebook feed there from Corey, who's
our man Corey.
Yeah, very very loyal fan to the show, which we love. He posed a question. Ian Rappaport's talking about the Steelers actively trying to trade Le'Veon Bell now. Raider Nation, would you go after that trade? Man, you got nothing out of the Mac deal currently, right?
Currently,
you got
right.
2 first-round picks. I don't know, flip a couple picks. You've got Le'Veon Bell out there. The running game hasn't been what you hoped it would be. You've got Earl Thomas out there. We just got done talking to Austin Gayle about how bad this safety position is. Flip some of these picks. All these, oh, my God, look at all these draft picks we've acquired. Do something with them. Go get viable NFL options that are currently playing football, not guys that may have potential, may be a starter one day. Project guys. Look at this draft. You don't know where you're going to pick in the draft. You don't know where the Bears pick is going to be in the draft. Go get some NFL players.
Well, and here's the thing, though. Here's the question I would ask before I answer. I'm going to answer the question with another question. Okay, sort of like a court. The lawyer stuff's rubbing off on me. Is it your top need? Is running back your top need? Now, Le'Veon Bell is, to some, the top running back in the league. Okay, so I get if you can get the best running back in the league, if the price is right, sure. But to me, I don't know. Do you want to trade those draft picks that you got?
Not a number one. Definitely not.
Right.
Not for Bell because, well, first of all, you don't even know if you're going to be able to sign him long term.
Correct.
If you could work that out ahead of time, maybe it's worth it. Is running back a need? Maybe not today, but
long term.
If this team isn't in Oakland next season, Marshawn Lynch is gone. He's not going to play for the Raiders in San Diego. We know he's not going to play for the Raiders in Vegas, and he's already 33 years old. He doesn't have a ton of time left anyways.
He opened his Beast Mode store here. I think he's maybe warming to the idea.
I would love to see that, but even still, how productive is he going to be at 35 years old when they get here?
Right.
So running back is going to be a need. Doug Martin's not the answer. Scott, I know you want him to be, but Doug Martin's not the answer.
I don't know who that is.
Jalen Richard, DeAndre Washington, these are change-of-pace guys.
Chris Warren.
I'm sorry, where's he at?
He looked amazing. Okay, sure.
Season. He didn't even make it to the start of the season. Albeit injury, he didn't make it to the start of the season. I'm not gonna hang my hat on a guy that couldn't even make it to the first game of the season, especially when he had injury problems at Texas.
Well, look, I think Chris Warren looked so good in the preseason, and I would have loved to see him play in the regular season, but I feel like you can't just hold this injury against him. Give the kid a shot. I feel like give the kid a fair shot next season.
Are you willing to say that Chris Warren is the future of the Raiders' backfield?
I'm not willing to say that, but I'm not saying it's not worth giving it a shot.
Yeah, but you still got to have more than one running back on your roster.
I mean, you're right about that, and even though Marshawn did open up that store here, which is awesome, which is awesome, we are going to have a need at running back very soon. But I feel like Chris Warren is a guy that right now, there's a lot of questions surrounding him, but I was really impressed with what I saw in the preseason.
So, that's my question. Would you trade for him or not?
Well, if
depends on the price.
Look, yeah, it depends entirely on the price.
Right.
I mean, we're playing GM here, guys.
So a second round and a third round.
Oh man. I mean, for Bell, you'd have to think a second round is definitely going to go out there for whatever team gets him.
Right.
Yeah, but I think Bell. I think that one's the reach. Honestly, I don't think that they would go after that, even though, again, the future says you're going to need a running back. I think Earl Thomas would be a better – I think that's instant impact, especially for a defense that's just struggling in every way, shape, and form.
And I think also, too, it's a bruised and battered Raider Nation still recovering and reeling from the Khalil Mack trade, and you hear Le'Veon Bell, and you're like, oh, maybe that could be – you're swapping out, but – hey, if you want to pay Le'Veon Bell the money, you could have paid Khalil Mack the money.
Yeah, exactly.
You're absolutely right.
And so, Corey, I don't see it happening, my man. I just don't. But to me, I think they need to just focus on fixing that defense and adding more pieces on offense next year. Anyway, all right. So now we're back to the audible, and Matt's got some fun.
I wanted to ask a question to any of you out there that live in markets that have multiple pro franchises going on, because I was looking at the day today in sports. Now, I'm a Dodgers fan. Huge day in baseball, especially if you're a fan of the NL at all, because everybody is tied. You have 5 teams in the playoffs, and nobody has a seed yet. 1 through 5 has not been determined. It's nuts.
It is.
So you've got that going on. If you're a Raiders fan or a fan of the NFL at all, you have football going on today. Here in Vegas, we have a Knights game tonight, albeit preseason. There's a Knights game tonight
against
at 5 o'clock at T-Mobile against San Jose. How do you juggle? I want to know how people juggle having all of these teams in the same market, playing on the same day. When you've got baseball in your market, you've got hockey in your market, you've got NFL, NBA, you've got all these things going on, and if they're in your city, you're a fan of all these teams, obviously. How do you juggle that stuff? How do you prioritize? Where does your money go? Because budget-wise, unless you're doing really well, I don't think you have season tickets for all 4 franchises. We've got boxing out here on top of it. I was out at the Speedway having fun yesterday, drag racing. That was awesome. You got NASCAR that comes out here. We have the WNBA now. We have minor league soccer, minor league baseball. How do you juggle these things?
Well, I'll tell you. So the cities I've lived in, including San Diego, including Kansas City, had multiple teams. And I think that the question becomes, it depends where you're at. If you're a dink, dual income, no kids, you could probably do it all. Like you can have season tickets. Like Michael Troiano's here, right? He's got Raiders tickets. He's got Golden Knight tickets.
Dink. My buddy's a dink.
Yeah.
I just realized.
It makes me mad because I chose to have 5 kids and I love that. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but
I've never
still,
heard that term before. By the way.
So if you're in that situation, or you're a single guy like David over there who's making a ton of money now working in radio,
hey, that's the thing about being single is you get to hoard all this money to yourself.
All your money's yours.
But what is the word dink? Like, what does that mean?
Dual income, no kids.
Oh shoot.
DINK. Dual income, no kids. So you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, or in my world, because I'm an old guy, you get married and you have a husband and wife.
Wait, what?
Whatever it is. Yeah.
You have to be an old guy to have gotten married?
Yeah, young people don't get married. They buy houses, they have kids,
is that
they don't
true,
get married.
Sonia? We went over the engagement thing yesterday on Adrenaline.
You know what? Yeah. I think it's a coin toss, because I feel like a lot of my friends are either like married or they're not married, or they're married and have kids, and it's like, oh, you're so young. So I don't know. I guess it just depends. It depends.
That was me when I had more hair and it wasn't gray. I was young and had kids. But the point is, I think if you have more disposable income, meaning you don't have kids, you don't have a mortgage payment, you don't have this, then you have more money for that. But it's hard. I mean, it's going to get hard here in Vegas. Like I was complaining we have a text message between the 2 shows, right, with guys, and I've been complaining all preseason about
Tony
the Golden Knights.
The never-ending thread.
Yes, the never-ending thread, like the movie. Yeah. Never-ending. Okay. Anyway, but I complain about the Golden Knights tickets because I looked for the entire season on the secondary market. There's 2 games with an upper-level seat, and the lowest price is $94. I know that's now. It could change. But as of right now, past that, the cheapest game in the upper level to go to a Knights game for 1 ticket is $148.
Hottest ticket in town, man.
Yeah, it is.
More so than any of the shows that are on the Strip.
It is.
And, that speaks to a couple of things. First of all, team's winning.
Absolutely.
The team is good. They win. If you've ever been to a game, anybody listening out there that hasn't been to T-Mobile for a Golden Knights game, it is one of the more fun experiences you can have at a professional sporting event.
I was at a preseason game the other night. I was at the LA Kings game at T-Mobile, and it's a preseason game, and it's sold out. There were 18,000 fans there, and it felt like a postseason game.
And it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
And it's a lot of fun.
And the atmosphere in general.
And just, you talked about the fact that they're winning, and that's why all of us have so many friends, because we're winners.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
We're friends with each other.
I'll go with that.
We're friends with each other. So.
Again, I want to thank, we got to go to a break here in a second, but I want to thank the Nevada Press Association for naming our podcast as the top podcast in the state. So thank you to them and the entire board, and especially to Kirk Kern, who writes for our website, is also on the board there. It's his birthday. Happy birthday, Kirk. We'll see you in just 3 minutes here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
This is Cliff Branch, formerly of the Oakland Raiders, 3-time Super Bowl champ, 4-time Pro Bowl, and you listen to the Silver and Black Show.
Yes, you are. You're right back here on the Silver and Black today, and we're going to shift this focus for the final segment. We're going to do a little roundtable. First, we're going to start it off. We have a really, immensely popular feature on our website over at silverandblacktoday.com, and that is called The Breakdown with Chris Reed, and Chris joins us now from down in the Valley of the Sun down in Arizona. Chris, how you doing this morning?
Good. You guys ready for the hurricane?
Yeah, that's right. We're getting rain. I just want it to be under 80.
To the right of us, though.
I know.
We're just getting some residuals off to the side.
I know. And when I lived in Kansas City, we had really big storms, and I actually liked it, except when my basement flooded.
It's fun.
But I'm glad to be shoveling sunshine. All right, so Chris, let's talk real quickly. We're gonna keep you on for the whole segment. I didn't tell you that, but I'm throwing Matt calls audible, so we call it an audible. We're going to talk first about your piece, your breakdown piece on Baker Mayfield, and then we're going to keep you on as we talk about the game and what might happen. So hopefully your wife doesn't kill me. But your piece this morning ran early this morning on Mayfield. Now, Mayfield has been the talk of the week, the belle of the ball, if you will, after the Browns were roundly criticized for taking him first. He comes out, he has a great half, he looks good, but there's also some things that didn't look so great. And when you broke down the film, talk about what he did really, really well, and then we'll talk about what the Raiders can look to maybe exploit against him in his first start on the road.
Well, the biggest surprise was just how quick he would go with passes outside the numbers and deep, because usually, you bring in a rookie quarterback getting his first start, you're going to give him a lot of easy reads, kind of over the middle or screen passes, something short and quick to get the ball out of his hands. But he looked really aggressive. He looked really accurate, going deep and outside the numbers. That was what really caught me off guard.
Yeah, you look. Here's the thing, and I've been talking about this the whole show, is when you have no success, limited success feels like you just won the Super Bowl. But he's still a rookie quarterback. The Jets only had a halftime to prepare for him, really. The Raiders have had an entire week. This isn't under the lights. This isn't in Cleveland. He doesn't have the home crowd behind him. This is on the road, on a dirt infield, in the Coliseum, an entire week for a defense to get ready. How much different is Baker Mayfield going to look today?
Oh, hopefully a lot, because the Raiders really need to get this win. He did have times where he was hesitant to, throw passes. One of them resulted in a strip sack during that drive at the end of the half, which could have ended it right there for him. And he got confused by some coverage later in the second half and should have thrown an interception. The ball hit the safety right in the chest and he dropped it. So he is still a rookie quarterback, and Paul Gunther is going to disguise coverages. He's going to bring pressure, hopefully mostly from Mayfield's right, because that's the side he likes to escape from the pocket from.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting, because I think that with a rookie on the road, this is where the black hole and the crowd in Oakland really has to, and not that they wouldn't anyway, but this is where they really got to make a difference here, I think, because you got to rattle that young quarterback. They got to find some sort of pass rush as well, as you said, Chris, on the right side here. And I think they can do it. I like the Raiders in this game, and I'm going to call a 28-14 game.
Wow, that's 28 points for a team that hasn't scored more than 20.
It can't contain them anymore. It's going to break out.
All right.
What do you think, Chris?
That Browns defense is really good. I think they're 11th in points. So it's going to be a tough game. I think they're going to have to kind of pound it and hopefully get some deep shots on them. But yeah, I like the Raiders maybe maybe 20-17.
20-17. Okay.
I do think the Raiders. So I picked the Browns a couple of weeks ago. I picked the Browns to win this game. Tyrod Taylor was still the quarterback. They hadn't gotten their first win yet against the Jets, and it looked like it was building towards the Browns going into Oakland.
By the way, that's a really
win.
Raider fan thing to do.
Yeah, well, it is, but you know as well as anybody, I'm a very unbiased Raider fan.
Yes, you are.
I've been a Raider fan
More
my
so
entire
than
life.
anyone.
I love that team. I go nuts when they win. I want to punch babies when they lose. But I call it like I see it.
Yeah,
This team has not been good for a really long time outside of minimal success here and there. So I've gotten used to being unbiased in the way that I view this team. Looking ahead, I said, man, I just feel it coming. The Browns are going to come in and they're going to beat this team. But things have changed, obviously. Baker Mayfield, while he is, I believe, the long-term solution to the Browns' quarterback problems over the last couple of decades, it's still his first start.
Yeah,
first starts are tough.
On the road.
Man. They're tough on the road. And I don't know how many of you have been to the Coliseum. I don't know if it's the way the Coliseum is configured or if Raiders fans just have a different level of noise that they're able to achieve. But the Coliseum is loud. It is one of the loudest stadiums I've been in. I've been to Kansas City. I've been to Seattle. Those are supposed to be the loudest ones. And maybe decibel levels get to a certain point. But I've been on the field, and it's different in Oakland. Those fans
No
are
doubt.
loud.
It's going to be big
going to be
today.
tough.
What's the score?
Man, I think the Raiders are going to find a way to get into the end zone this week. There's been a lot of talk about the play calling. We've already mentioned Keith Smith getting the ball. I think you see a heavy dose of Marshawn Lynch. We talked to Daryl about the run defense being the Achilles heel right now for the Browns.
For the Browns, yeah.
I think you're going to see them try to stack the box and stop the run. And Derek Carr is going to finally start using that play action the way that we want to see him use the play action. Going 24-17 Raiders.
Okay. So 24. You're only 4 points out. So David Stepanian, what say you, sir?
So I don't want to put a lot of stock in the Browns just because they looked good against the Jets. So I'm not. I'm full of support for Baker Mayfield. He was great at Oklahoma, and I want to see him succeed. You know, and the Browns have had so much bad luck at quarterback the last few years that I want to see Baker Mayfield succeed, just not against the Raiders. You know, and when I was looking at this schedule before the season began, I would have never envisioned that the Browns actually have a chance to beat the Raiders on the road in Oakland.
Well, what do you think?
This was not a game that I would have ever. And I hate agreeing with everybody.
So
but
you're picking the Raiders then?
I have to go with the Raiders.
What's the score?
I'm 24-21. They win and cover.
Okay. That's
win
pretty.
And cover.
That's a pretty good prediction. All right. Well, Chris Reed, man, thanks. And also, make sure you go read Chris's piece on Baker Mayfield. Also, just a couple days ago, he wrote one on Arden Key as well. Make sure you do that at silverandblacktoday.com. Thanks, Chris.
Hey, take it easy, guys.
All right. Wow, man, this show is over. Can you believe this? It went by quick.
Weekends fly by now. Flying by.
Make sure you check out the Red Zone, Raiders Red Zone Booster Club party down at Mandalay Bay. And if you're on the other side of town, make sure you check out our sponsor, The Pint, if you're going to watch the game up on West Charleston. Guys, thanks so much.
Yeah, man, here we go. Let's go out and get a victory today. Let's see when number one come through. Hopefully they can start rolling a little bit. Go up and down the field, but finish off these drives, Carr. Let's go.
That's right. For David Stepanian, for Macateras, I am Scott Branson. Make sure you check out the PG. That's right, 4 p.m. today. We recap the Raiders game, post-game Raiders, and we also take a look at key games in the NFL and the rest of the NFL action for the day. So make sure you listen to Tony Cordasco and I on that show. Also, Sports Adrenaline, make sure you listen to them Saturday from 8 to 10 a.m. For Sonia Schlobaum, who's done an amazing job as an engineer, I'm Scott Branson. For Macateras, David Stepanian, and Tony Cordasco on video, thank you very much. We'll talk to you next week.